Yo, what's up, guys? You got PokeaimMD here with a video talking about Marshadow. I got my boy Aberforth with me once again. You can say hi.
Hello.
You guys should go ahead and check him out. Loves Ubers. Very, very solid Ubers player and just good person in general. I don't know why my IV spreads always mess up. But yeah, Marshadow's been out for about 2 months now. A little bit over 2 months. I believe it was July 15th, I want to say it was released in Japan. So we've had Marshadow in the Uber's metagame for about 2 months, and the Uber's metagame has definitely gone through some changes. So with this video, I want to talk about just how good Marshadow is, and of course, I brought my boy because he knows Uber so much that I wanted somebody to go back and forth with. So before we actually get directly into Marshadow, I want to talk about Sun and Moon Ubers from the beginning. So the beginning of Sun and Moon Ubers brought obviously Lunala and Solgaleo. Obviously, there was a dark buff, so Veltal couldn't be like toxic by Klefki. That was a pretty big thing. Klefki usage went down ridiculously from that, and also we also got a Lowland Muck. So in the beginning, and that's pretty key as well. So in the beginning of the Sun and Moon Ubers, you had a great Pursuit Trapper that actually allowed you to run a Violite Chansey as opposed to Shed Shell Blissey. And then you had Lunala, which could either use Z-Hypnosis, Calm Mind,
Or just Scarf.
a
Like
scarf as
Scarf was
well.
an amazing
Exactly,
thing, honestly.
exactly. Now let's fast forward a little bit to when Marshadow actually let's go back a little bit. But because Muck was actually everywhere, Pokemon like Gothitelle were
Not
invalidated.
seen.
Exactly. Because of the addition of Muck and Lunala and the rise of dark types. Like Yveltal was just so good. It's still really
Well,
good.
not only that, but just the meta in general was in such a way that if a team didn't have a really amazing Pursuit Trapper like Muck or occasionally something like a T-Tar, then they were going balls to the wall hyper offense
Yeah.
and just
Gothitelle doesn't
it was
do well versus
Gothitelle
that.
doesn't
Yeah.
do anything in
Exactly,
that matchup.
exactly. Exactly.
Like occasionally you can use it to trap a Scarfy Veltal, but if you're not lucky like that, you can't really get it to do anything in that matchup aside from be a sack fodder. So
Exactly.
Gothitelle was pretty much not used then.
Exactly. So let's fast forward a little bit to when Marshadow actually got released. So you guys know Marshadow is the fighting type ghost with the amazing move Special Thief, great close combat, Technician, Shadow Sneak, and then it can run something like Hidden Power Ice. It can run Rock Tomb for Ho, Hidden Power Ice for Salamence. So the addition of this mon has really rocked the Uber's metagame. This mon single-handedly brought Arceus down from, what was it, S rank? Or
I think it was S rank or A
yeah,
plus, one of the two.
yeah,
Like
E
it was
killer,
one of
E
the
killer.
hovering
Yep.
ones.
SD Arceus it single-handedly brought SD Arceus down because it's the best revenge killer to SD Arceus in the game. Like straight up, it doesn't fear extreme speed. It outspeeds it, knocks it out with life orb close combat from full like 100% of the time. Or I think it does 98% min if it's just max HP Arceus. So that mon got brought down. The addition of Marshadow also brought the rise of pretty much bulky Arceus everywhere. Another thing I want to talk about the beginning of the Sun and Moon, because we also got Z moves that also invalidated Pokemon like Gothitelle and things like that, because a lot of them were typically SDE killer with Never Ending Nightmare for bulky Arceus types, which would Oko at +2. You could even see Tectonic Rage and things like that. But Marshadow single-handedly made Pokemon like Arceus Fairy amazing. I would argue that Arceus Fairy and Arceus Ground right now are the two best Arceus support types, in my opinion, besides Water.
Yep. I think that I think that Fairy and Water are pretty much level, and Ground is pretty much unanimously considered the best Arceus type right now. Although I personally don't like it as much, surprisingly. But one of the things was also back before Marshadow, Arceus Dark was easily like top 3 or 4 in terms of Arceus types.
Correct.
As a supporting mon, just because of things like Lunala, things like Gengar, the Dark type buff was mentioned, and the fact that there was like
No
two
Klefki.
fairy types in
Yeah.
the entire meta.
Yeah.
Like Xerneas and Arceus Fairy were the only two. And it could just do so much. And then Marshadow came in and just it's fallen dramatically now.
Correct. Correct.
It's nowhere near as good. Just because like it's having something that gives Marshadow a free turn is just something that you really don't want to do on your team at all, ever.
Exactly.
Because
I agree.
because it's just like 125 isn't great for Ubers as an attacking stat, but with a life orb and with as high base power moves as close combat is, it's enough. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It's crazy also how Lunala usage went down because Shadow Sneak could
Oh,
just pick it off.
massively,
Uh-huh.
massively, massively, massively. It was probably the best Scarfer
In
at
the
one
beginning of Sun
point.
and Moon, yeah, easily the best.
Yeah,
I agree completely. Easily the best
and
Scarfer in the beginning
then
of Sun and Moon. And Marshadow
and
just like,
then yeah, and it was so good as well because it was beating offenses and it was actually something they had to prep for massively, which led to Arceus Dark being amazing. And then suddenly Marshadow comes in and it just almost overnight just dies. I don't think I've seen a Lunala in a long, long
yeah,
while.
I haven't seen, even if I do see one, like it typically goes down to Shadow Sneak anyway. So
Yeah.
obviously we have the Life Orb set. And again, that made Support Arceus come back up in usage. And when Support Arceus come up in usage, and Pokemon like Muck go down, and Pokemon like Arceus Dark go down, and Pokemon like that, and you see all those support Pokemon, because Marshadows actually existed, Gothitelle usage went back up. Because Gothitelle could safely trap support Arceus types and beat
Well,
them
not
one
only
v one.
that, but also one of the key things that makes Marshadow honestly my favorite Pokemon of this generation thus
Special
far,
special thing.
aside from Tapu Koko, is how amazing it does versus offenses. Like it completely nerfed just
Yep.
brain dead offenses.
Yep.
You can't run just the same six mons
But
every
set up,
game,
yeah,
and
because Marshadow will steal them with
set up and
Spectral
sweep.
Thief. Yep.
And it's so hard for offense to switch into. So things like the really, really the incredibly prevalent HO teams, with things like if you could imagine, well, I'm sure you can remember back in Oras, there was the DOS team,
Yep. Deoxys
stuff like
Speed,
that,
E-Killer, Xerneas, Groudon, those teams.
and then two mons like you can pick and choose between a lot of them. Marshadow just practically single-handedly meant that you could no longer run those things safely, and it just shifted the meta from HO oriented to
More balance,
bulkier
yeah,
offense
bulky off,
and
yes,
balance
exactly.
with Audacious forms, with things like bulkier rock setters, things like that, and that again plays right into Gothitel's hands.
Exactly. And I also want to say that because that also happened, not just Gothitelle, but a whole lot of Pokemon got better, or at least somewhat viable, like Palkia, for example. Because teams are bulkier now as opposed to just straight up offense. Palkia versus offense was Groudon setup fodder, or Xerneas setup fodder if Groudon went down, or E-Killer setup fodder, I would say. But because teams are bulkier, Palkia is faster, can use Z. What's the
Heal
move?
block.
Heal block, thank you. Z heal block for the nasty plot, and then just clean sweep less fatter teams. And I just love that this mon actually brought up the usage, or at least made other Pokemon viable because of what's being ran. Because you see Ho-Oh, Celesteela, Toxapex being ran, Zekrom. That's almost an OU core, by the way, if you take out Ho. You can see Zekrom, another one in your round. And that, of course, also has to do with Z moves. But again, the usage, or the fact that just brain dead hyper offense has gone down in usage, and it's a lot harder to use right now. I feel like to be successful with. I would argue.
Yeah, like, it requires actual thought. You can still use hyper offense. That style's not dead
Yeah,
because
no, no,
Marshadow,
no.
while it checks hyper offense really amazingly, it's also really amazing versus it.
Yeah,
But it's not like Marshadow is at all.
stopping it just single handedly.
No,
Yeah,
it's a good tool for it to use as well as being a good tool to use against it.
correct.
So it's kind of self-balancing, if that makes sense. Like it nerfs the stupid HO that was just making the tier boring, in my personal opinion, and it makes all the games much more reliant on individual skill.
I agree. And spamming toxic. That's like a big thing in
And,
Ubers.
and spamming toxic.
That's why
especially with
Handy Dandy
Renegade
Gothitelle
Eye.
comes out and just kills everything. I love
Yeah.
it so much. I love the Uber's metagame right now. I also love how E-Killer, like I mentioned earlier, went down from potentially A+ to S rank, whatever it was, went down all the way to what is it right now? I think it's A-,
B+.
B+,
B plus.
B+.
Yeah.
Like I have the recent changes right in front of me, but E-Killer's B+ now, and E-Killer actually has to run sub SD. That way it can.
Or Choppleberry. I've
Yeah,
seen a couple
Choppleberry.
Choppleberries
Choppleberry, that way close combat doesn't knock it out, or sub SD, that way it doesn't have to worry about close combat, and it lets it set up on Zygarde's Dragon Tail. Because Zygarde's Dragon Tail or 1,000 Arrows don't break the sub unless it's offensive. So,
Zygarde's another thing that's just kind of been a little bit confusing for me since Marshadow came out. Like, it doesn't seem to be affected by Marshadow much, because it's not like HP Ice is
doing
that
much,
much of a threat to...
When you're
It'll
messing with
2-hit
fodder.
KO it sometimes, but I mean, equally, it's still a Zygarde. It's not going to die to one hit from anything short of a Xerneas. But
And I feel like Marshadows are also leaning more towards not HP Ice, but
yeah,
either the bulk up set you have right here, which is bulk up Shadow Sneak, Spectral Thief, Close Combat, PokeaimMD, or bulk up with or 4 attacks Life Rock Tomb, excuse me, because Ho is literally everywhere, and Technician boosted Rock Tomb can knock it out, and Ho are running like full Fizz Def.
In spite of Ho-Oh being everywhere, I don't know if it's just me being not lucky, but I've just not been seeing Zygarde as much lately, and I guess it's because Coil isn't as good as it once was because of
you can Spectral Thief and it goes through sub as well. Yeah,
but it's not like Zygarde is a bad mon, and I'm just not seeing it right now, and I'm just uncertain as to why that is.
Yeah, I don't think
you mentioning it with the E-Killer thing just made me think, why is Zygarde now worse than it was before? Because it's not like Marshadow is just a bit of a neutral thing for it. I mean, it'll nerf the teams that Zygarde was arguably best against, but it also nerfs the teams that Zygarde was worst against, so overall even trade. Because Marshadow with the MZ also nerfed the brain dead stalls that were going around. It was such a good thing for the meta. Like I don't know how much you were playing before Marshadow started. I think you started Uber's Road to Top 10 right as it was released or so.
Yes.
But the meta just before Marshadow was one of two extremes: the all setup HO or the massive stall teams, and they were both as brain dead as each other. Like, there's no doubt about that in my mind. And that's not to say there weren't a couple balanced teams running around, but like by and large, if you got a game on the ladder, you've got at least a 70% chance.
Yeah, you're getting HO or stall. Correct. Yeah. I agree.
But the Marshadow Z Spectral Thief, Soul Stealing, whatever the move is, I can never remember that.
Soul Stealing 7-star Strike.
That one. Just nerfed the brain dead variants of the stall teams, and now when I'm seeing stall, I'm seeing things like T-Tar stall. Toxapex is now pretty much a must-have on stall teams.
And it has to run Shed Shell now, by the way, 100% of the time. Before, I used to see Black Sludge. I even saw an occasional Walk-On Berry to allow it to live thunder from Xerneas.
You can run with those items still, but you are risking
exactly. Gothitelle, exactly. Duckshell's another mon that's still just as good in every tier that it's allowed in, by the way, guys. It's still good in OU.
Which is only Ubers now.
Yeah, it's only Ubers. Exactly. That's another mon that I feel like really made it so you have to run Shed Shell. I think Shed Shell is just the best item on Toxic.
Dougie's not as common as Gothitelle is, and it's not as good as Gothitelle is, but it's worth bearing in mind all the time because, I mean, it's still Dougie.
And it's funny because you would think that Gothitelle would be bad because you have a Pokemon like Marshadow that could potentially knock it out, but the standard Gothitelle
it doesn't really matter if you can't go into the Marshadow.
Exactly. And actually, Marshadow doesn't even knock it out with Spectral Thief if it's not Life Orb. And it has to be, and it has to be at, it has to take a certain percentage as well. Of course, this doesn't matter if you're not running Psyshock on Gothitelle. If you're running the Taunt, Charm, Confide, Rest set, it doesn't matter. Your job isn't to take a hit from Marshadow. But that job is just to PP stall your opponent, force them to attack you, and let them struggle. But, yeah, the introduction of this mon and the fact that it can run so many sets, well, there are like 3 main sets. Obviously, the Life Orb set for attacks, the Bulk Up set, which can also be Bulk Up Life Orb or Z. And I also want to mention, I think Choice Scarf is really cool too, especially on offense. Choice Scarf is really cool because it actually outspeeds Pokemon like +1 Salamence or +1 Rayquaza.
+2 Xerneas as well.
+2 Xerneas, exactly. And you're able to, if they're weakened, which typically Xerneas does have to take a hit to set up, it's never usually setting up for free. You can pick it off with Spectral Thief or Hidden Power Ice in that case.
And even if you don't manage to pick it off, you've gotten rid of the Xerneas' boosts.
Exactly.
It's no longer the threat.
Exactly. They have to knock you out. So, like, it's such a cool Pokemon, and I really like what it does to the tier. Some people might say, well, Uber's is a little bit more boring now because I'm seeing Toxic everywhere, but I definitely prefer this to seeing...
Toxic was everywhere before.
Yeah, it was, exactly. But I definitely prefer this to seeing Sableye, Blissey, or even when...
Sableye, Chansey,
Alolan Muck, exactly. Like, support Arceus type, whatever. Like, I definitely prefer this more to that. And just because of this little monster over here, all those mons started going up in usage. Like, you guys, I don't know if you guys watched my Road to Top 10, but I'll show you some Uber's teams that I use in there. And you got Pokemon like Mega Gyarados. You got Pokemon like Palkia, Zekrom. I use Gothitelle. I use like Tapu Lele offense, Greninja offense.
Did you end up using the Mega Gyarados team? I thought that was one.
Oh, that was in a tour.
You
I think I used it in a
because
tour. Oh yeah, because
you didn't end up using it because you finished it too soon.
Yeah. This mon was like on every team, and it's crazy. You have mons like that can like on Ubers. You have staple mons. Okay, best mon in the tier, Groudon, Primal Groudon, easily. Okay, Primal Groudon. It's worse for you to not have it on your team because it fits so many roles, right? Stealth Rocker,
Still teams can occasionally go without it. But
well, that's different though. That's stall.
Yeah.
Particularly stall in particular. But any other team, offense, bulk, balance, even stall teams in particular, you can use Primal Groudon on stall if you want to as well. As a breaker.
It doesn't make stall bad. It's just
exactly.
That,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the one play style where you can most get away with not using Primal Groudon.
Exactly. Primal Groudon is the super Landorus-Therian form of Ubers, okay? The super Landorus-Therian form. You already know Landorus-Therian has like, what, 70% usage or something crazy like that in OU? Yeah, Primal Groudon at a point probably like, I think it had, what was it, 90?
In tours, I think its average usage is about 90 or so.
Yeah,
over
exactly.
the last few generations.
Exactly. So a Pokemon like that. Now that, keep in mind, that Pokemon's still top tier. Then you have Xerneas and E-Killer. But a Pokemon that Marshadow comes out knocks E-Killer out of the big three, I would call them, okay? Let's say the big three. You knock it, and then Marshadow takes its place. Like right now, currently, Marshadow is A+ tier. But I would argue for it being an S tier Pokemon. Because
I personally think it's the third best Pokemon in the tier.
I agree.
Behind
Primal
Xerneas
Groudon.
and Feedon.
Yep, exactly. I agree completely because it's a Pokemon that has influenced, like that has changed so much. It's not a Pokemon like Xerneas that straight up threatens you by setting up and literally forces you to have 3 or 4 checks, or a Pokemon like Primal Groudon, which is amazing
Everywhere.
Yeah, or amazing Stealth Rocker check can set up. What is it? Chinese Groudon is like, they call it Chinese Primal Groudon. I think it's like SD, Rock Tomb, Overheat, and then Pressure's Blades. Like max special attack, and that mon can break through teams on itself, doing 50% to Gyarados Origin form with Overheat, which is ridiculous, by the way. That's ridiculous. That's a resisted move. Like what?
Yeah. Eruption is my favorite one.
Oh, Eruption's I love Eruption HP Ice as well. Beautiful set. But it's a Pokemon that single-handedly like changed the structure of Ubers, allowed you to actually go and use different Pokemon. Like we saw today. I wanted to have it on screen because replays were kind of working, but then I thought replays weren't working. But we saw today in, sorry,
Snake?
Yeah, we saw today in Snake Draft. I actually narrated that game
I've not
live.
seen that. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so that'll go up tomorrow as well. That'll go up right before this, actually, most likely. But we saw today in Snake Draft that M-Dragon used Gracias and Mega Tyranitar. Gracias and Choice Band Tyranitar.
Already sounds fun.
Yep, Gracias and Choice Band Tyranitar. Excuse me, Mega Gengar. Beautiful combination. Like you would think that Gracias would not be good when Ho was so good, but like the introduction of Marshadow just like shifted what's being used everywhere, and I love that combinations like this can be ran.
I feel like it made it so that team building has now far more options because. I think that the number of things that were so good you had to prep for them on every team, like Lunala, like hard stall teams like E-Killer and stuff, they all just got worse, and it's given you much more freedom in the team building stage, and to the point where you can afford to use
an obscure mon.
Not memes, but like you can use Pokemon that otherwise wouldn't get usage, like Gracias, as you said, and Choice Banded Tita and Palkia. And things like that, and you can make them work because Marshadow has changed the meta to the stage where it can work like that. I think that it's worth mentioning that while we both think it should be S, we're also biased because I don't think either of us play hard stall or really bulky teams without much offensive presence. Marshadow is more suited to our playstyle than it is.
That's true.
Than it is a semi-stall player.
Like I've used Uber stall, but I'm not the biggest fan of using Uber stall when I'm fighting Pokemon like Primal Groudon that could use whatever set it wants, or SD, or I have to face like a Lugia, or like
I personally dislike stall in every tier just because I feel like it just doesn't give you the way of winning. You have to rely on your opponent not playing well. I never like playing with stall. So our opinion on the matter
It's biased.
It is biased towards
I love
Marshadow
Marshadow. Hell
because
yeah, it's
Marshadow
biased.
works better
If
with
you
our
watch this,
teams.
you're hearing our opinion on this. So I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah.
I use Marshadow. I think in every single episode of the Road to Top 10 in Ubers, and that boy carried. I think I dropped 3 games out of 40. I dropped no. I think it was 42 and 3.
No, it was 2.
I could just look up right now. I'm pretty sure it was 3, bro. I know I got hacks out of 1, but I also got my fair share of luck. Let me see. Slash rank aim. We can look right now. Gen 7 Ubers.
3 done.
Yeah, I went 45 and 3, guys.
I swore it was 2.
I don't remember.
well.
I just remember Marshadow just literally being broken and saving me every single time. So I am definitely biased towards this Pokemon. And of course, ladder play is different than tournament play, but now you're starting to see Marshadow's influence on the tier. You see Gothitelle. I don't know if you saw Dice's game for Snake Draft.
I've not seen any Snake Draft games as of yet because of Australian time zone.
Dice used Taunt, Confide, Charm, Rest, Gothitelle, and it 1v1'd like everything.
That explains why I saw it on the ladder just a minute
Yes,
ago.
yes, exactly. And that would not have been possible without Marshadow actually being in the tier.
No.
I would like to believe, because again, you see Alolan Muck, Lunala everywhere, Yveltal prior to. And granted, Yveltal's still everywhere, right? It's still a great mod. Yveltal's still a great mod.
Yeah.
But you don't see Lunala.
Yveltal's the mon that was least affected by the Marshadow changes, in my opinion. Aside from Primal Groudon and Xerneas, I think that Yveltal was the one that was least changed. Although still, you're seeing less Life Orb and more Scarf and stuff like that. So,
Scarf U-turn, Scarf Outplay. You're also seeing Scarf Toxic. That's another one I'm seeing too, because of the meta game is shifted to the point where you're seeing all these bulky teams.
you're seeing Toxic on all the Scarf ones.
Yep.
I built a team just before with Toxic on Scarf Xerneas.
Oh yeah. My Scarf Xerneas doesn't even run Sleep Talk anymore. It's useless. If I run,
of course not. Darkrai is no longer there.
Exactly,
But that's not
and I don't have to worry about Z Hypnosis from Lunala either, and occasionally I guess Darkrai. But besides that, you don't see I guess Spore from Smeargle. Don't matter. But yeah, like I'm running on Scarf Xerneas. I'm running, and I think this is his best set right now. Moonblast, Aromatherapy, Toxic. And then last move is literally filler. Like, it's up to you.
I put Grass Knot on mine.
Grass Knot's cool for hitting.
Damage on Groudon.
I put Geomancy on mine because like if I get knocked off, I go for Geomancy. Exactly. And I still rather have Geomancy, Aromatherapy, Toxic, Moonblast. Like I don't need another. That's another mon that just needs to click Moonblast and that's it. And I just love as well the fact that like Technician boosted Shadow Sneak is so strong. Like I've picked up Xerneas from 30%. Like I've picked off. Lunala from
full, practically. After Rocks.
Yeah, after Rocks it just dies. Gengar, like being another one that dies as well. I know when it's a Marshadow versus Marshadow matchup and both players are running offense, it typically will come down to which Marshadow wins the speed tie.
The other thing I liked about Marshadow, especially the Scarf set, which is arguably the worst set, but it's one of my favorite to use. Psyspam, for me, was such a hard matchup, just because it countered most of my ways of dealing with offense, so priority and stuff.
Exactly.
And Scarf Marshadow just completely changes that, and now when I look at that matchup, I'm thinking, ooh, yay, I've got a Scarf Marshadow. I'm in a really good position here.
Exactly.
You need to play really well to avoid losing.
Exactly. We actually have a team that I'm looking at right now with the Scarf Lele, Life Orb Deoxys, and then Marshadow, and then Mega Salamence, of course, which is also our Marshadow answer, plus our Scarf Lele, which is also our Marshadow answer, plus Deoxys under Terrain. And this also makes Marshadow be able to run Hidden Power Ice and Rock Tomb, and I absolutely love Scarf Marshadow for that reason. Like, again, I would also argue, this is his worst set. But
it's still fun.
Oh, another
in the right matchups, it's very good.
Exactly. Versus more offensive teams, I would say, great. Another mon. We recently used Buzzwole in Ubers too. Now Buzzwole was a Pokemon that could be ran anyway in Ubers. It did have an Uber set, but I feel like if you know you're fighting a Marshadow, it's solid versus that team. You just Toxic Stall it. You actually just much like most of Ubers. You just Toxic Stall.
I really. It's had a very positive effect on the meta, and I don't think we can overstate that. I know we're repeating ourselves time and time again here, but still.
No, I agree completely. Like, it's just a Pokemon that has made Ubers a lot more enjoyable for me. I feel like early Sun and Moon Ubers, I wasn't really feeling it. You already mentioned the stall. I love Lunala though. Choice Scarf Lunala was just so good, and then you just see this whole shift when this one Pokemon comes out. It's crazy. I never thought we'd see the day where E-Killer wasn't amazing.
Good.
Even with psychic terrain.
I'll say good. Like it's not even good anymore.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, it's like it's subpar compared to like why would I use E-Killer when I could use Arceus Fairy and not lose to Marshadow and also beat a lot of
Or
teams.
SD Arceus Ground as well.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. Which is another one.
SD Arceus Ground is now the only SD Arceus I ever see.
Correct. I don't
It's the
see. I don't
only
see.
good one
I
anymore.
don't see. It's funny too because in the beginning of the meta, you saw Never Ending Nightmare, Arceus
Oh
Ghost
yeah,
everywhere.
when was the last time you saw Arceus Ghost?
Never.
Just
I saw it once on the Uber's ladder, I think, on the road top 10, and it SD'd, and then I Spectral Thief killed it.
mm.
So it's crazy. Like Amon, that's like being
The Calm
immune to
Minders
normal
are
type.
okay now though. Aside from Arceus Ice,
Correct.
I think all the Calm Minding Arceus forms got a buff.
Yes.
And Rock, but like Rock wasn't really seen either. But things like Arceus Fairy, things
Flying.
like, but also the Mima ones as well, like the
Like flying,
fires, the grasses,
like,
the
Exactly.
even the fighting as well. I'd say like it's
They're better because they don't care about Spectral Thief stealing the boosts.
yeah, exactly, basically.
And the ones like flying, for example, can run refresh and just mono because like flying type is such a great stab. So
It really is.
yeah, so you could just run that plus maybe a Trapper for Celesteela or whatever. Gothitelle. You just run that plus Gothitelle. You good. It's amazing just how much this Pokemon did for the tier. So all in all, I would say. Do you have anything else to add about Marshadow?
Nah, not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely overstated that how good it is, and we were definitely biased towards it. But
Yeah.
that's from our
It's
preferred
from
play
it's
stars.
from our point of view, and if you're clicking on the video, you
You
pretty
do-
much are gonna know
yeah,
by
you-
the time we were admitting that
Yeah,
it's a
you-
pretty biased opinion.
Exactly. Like you came here to hear our opinion on it. So I think
If
that
you want to see the analysis, there's a Smogon page that'll talk about the bad sides and stuff, but we don't really see them. We think that they're overstated, and it's just amazing. So,
yeah, I agree. Wait, Smogon has bad sets on Marshadow. I said they have bad sets.
No, it doesn't have. No, it mentions the flaws of Marshadow, is what I meant to say.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have bad. Well, I mean, I guess that like banned is something that we brought up just before
Yeah,
we started the
like-
video as being a bad set because it's got the coverage you want to use the coverage.
I agree.
And if anyone decides specs, they are wrong.
I see a
But that
Calm
you don't
Mind,
really
Hidden
have
Power,
bad
Electric.
sets with it.
I see a Calm Mind, Hidden Power, Electric set here and other options. All right, I'm getting
What?
it. Yeah, I saw some for hit Toxapex. Okay. Anyway,
What?
thank God they didn't give this Pokemon SD.
Oh god.
It might
I now really want to use Calm Mind Hidden Power Electric.
Electric. Yeah.
Work up, sorry, not Calm Mind.
Oh yeah. Work up. Sorry.
Well, at least that's better than Calm Mind.
Yeah,
Calm
because that
Mind
hits
being-
that boosts the attack. Yeah. That boosts the attack. That's an interesting set. But all in all, I believe Marshadow is a great Pokemon. And 2 months into Sun and Moon, since it's released, it really has shaped the metagame. I'm excited to see how the metagame changes as well because, of course, Super Lunala and Super Solgaleo or Necro Lunala and Necro Solgaleo.
Bat wings or
Yeah,
whatever they are.
whatever you want to call them. Whenever they come out in another month and a half or so. But I'm super excited to see how they are changed. I'm pretty sure they're just both going to get Prism Armor. And
I think that it's going to be. I don't really get it because it's Necrozma thing. It's not like it's Kyurem. It's Kyurem White and Black rather than.
Necrozma, Solgaleo, and like Necrozma.
Yes,
Leo,
so
yeah.
I feel like they might just be pure psychic types or something.
No, it's already
But-
confirmed. Their types.
Oh, I've been avoiding the spoilers. So
Oh, I mean they.
I mean, it doesn't matter to
sorry.
me. It just
Sarah
in case
Cerebi
they-
posted a picture of
okay.
merchandise they sold, and on the merchandise it said that they're confirmed they keep their typing,
Okay.
which I would understand because they're both psychic type anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's for another day. But obviously, you guys can leave your thoughts down on Marshadow down below. Like I said, 2 months into the Sun and Moon metagame, with this Mon being out in the Uber's metagame, it's just a great Pokemon in the tier. Really changed the meta and made support Arceus that much better. Like, this is definitely the meta of support Arceus and the meta of Trap.
And thus the Mr. of Gothitelle.
Exactly. So, of course, if you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. Check out my boy Aberforth. His link will be down below. Like I said, great channel. He does draft leagues, Ubers, and things like that. Team building videos. So go and check that out. And thank you for coming on, buddy. And I will see you
No
guys.
problem. Happy to be here.
Oh, of course, anytime, buddy. Goodbye, friends.